She goes to prison for this asshole. I know for a fact it was all him. She's not a liar. You know, she's insane.
John Stamos breaks silence on Lori Loughlin's divorce. She went to prison for this narcissist. He's a terrible narcissist. I will never talk to him again. That was John Stamos on a podcast talking about his best friend's husband. His best friend is Lori Loughlin, and the husband is Mossimo Giannulli, the man who dragged Aunt Becky into a $500,000 college bribery scheme, sent her to federal prison, and then, according to sources, started living a double life the moment he got out. The story behind that marriage falling apart involves fake rowing photos, incriminating text messages on Mossimo's phone, and a prenup that could leave Lori with almost nothing after 28 years.
My mom always said to me, make sure you can stand on your own 2 feet. Don't rely on a man to take care of you. It's one day at a time, one step at a time.
And it goes back to a fairy tale that was never what it seemed. Because the man Lori married in sweatpants on Thanksgiving Day 1997 had insisted on a prenuptial agreement that kept every dollar of his fortune separate from hers. That document is about to become the most important piece of paper in her life. But before we get to that, you need to understand what Stamos saw that nobody else did. He had known Lori since they were teenagers. He took her on a date to Disneyland when they were young, and for 40 years, he watched her build a life with a man he never trusted. To understand why Stamos went scorched earth on that podcast, you need to know one thing about Lori Loughlin. For 8 years on Full House, she played America's perfect wife, Aunt Becky. The show ran from 1987 to 1995, and by the end of it, Loughlin was one of the most recognizable women on television. And off-screen, her TV husband, John Stamos, had real feelings for her. They had known each other since they were working together on daytime soap operas. The timing was never right. They were never single at the same time. Years later, Stamos would call Loughlin the one that got away. In his 2023 memoir, If You Would Have Told Me, he wrote that she was his Sandra D from Greece, the good girl with a kind heart who always makes me feel upbeat when I'm around her. Then, in 1995, while Loughlin was still riding high off Full House, she walked into a restaurant in Los Angeles and met Mossimo Giannulli. He was a fashion designer, charming and very wealthy. His surf-inspired clothing brand had gone public, and at one point, his net worth on paper hit $275 million. He had a deal with Target that was making him millions in royalties every year. 2 years later, on Thanksgiving Day 1997, they eloped in Newport Beach. They wore ski hats and sweatpants. They even celebrated their anniversary on the wrong date for 20 years. Because they got so excited, they started counting 2 days early. From the outside, they had everything: the beloved TV star and the self-made fashion mogul. 2 daughters, Isabella in 1998 and Olivia Jade in 1999. A mansion in Hidden Hills worth millions. But what Stamos saw up close told a different story. And the scandal that was coming would prove him right. On March 12, 2019, the FBI announced the largest college admissions bribery case in American history. They called it Operation Varsity Blues. And right there, among the 50 people charged, were the names Lori Loughlin and Mossimo Giannulli. The accusation was staggering. The couple had allegedly paid $500,000 to a man named Rick Singer to get their 2 daughters, Olivia Jade and Isabella, admitted to the University of Southern California as crew team recruits. Neither girl had ever touched a rowing machine in their lives. To make the scheme work, they staged photos of the girls on rowing machines for their applications. The athletic profiles were completely fabricated. The achievements were invented out of thin air. $500,000 spent on a lie built on photographs that looked so obviously staged it was almost embarrassing. And the emails between Mossimo and Rick Singer showed exactly who was driving the scheme. It was Mossimo sending the follow-up emails, Mossimo coordinating the payments, Mossimo making sure the fake profiles were submitted on time. And what Lori told Stamos when he called her about the charges would become the single most important detail in this entire story. When Stamos heard about the charges, he called Loughlin immediately. According to him, Lori's reaction was telling. She said, "Mossimo handles all that stuff." That one sentence would become central to Stamos' defense of his friend years later, because it suggested that Loughlin may not have understood the full scope of what was happening, that Mossimo was the one pulling the strings, that she trusted her husband to handle the family's affairs, and he led her straight into a federal crime. But at first, neither of them seemed to grasp how serious it was. While other parents in the scandal were cutting deals and pleading guilty, Loughlin and Giannulli fought the charges for over a year. They showed up to court, smiling at cameras, signing autographs for fans outside the courthouse like they were at a premiere instead of a federal hearing. And the internet absolutely destroyed her for it. Hallmark dropped her immediately, Netflix cut her from Fuller House, brand deals evaporated overnight. Within months, the woman everyone loved as Aunt Becky had become a national punchline. The same audience that had adored her for decades was now making memes about her mugshot. Then, in May 2020, the reality finally hit. Both pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire and mail fraud. Loughlin was sentenced to 2 months in prison, fined $150,000, and ordered to complete 100 hours of community service. Giannulli got the heavier sentence, 5 months, a $250,000 fine, and 250 hours of community service. And that sentencing gap matters, because the judge clearly saw Giannulli as the more culpable party, the one who drove the scheme forward, the one who communicated directly with Singer, the one who sent the emails. But Lori still went to prison, 2 months at FCI Dublin in Northern California. And what happened after they both got out was far worse than anything a judge handed down. Loughlin reported to prison in October 2020 and served her full 2 months. She handled it quietly, did her time, and got out in December 2020. Giannulli had a different experience. He reported to Lompoc Federal Prison in November 2020, and almost immediately, things went wrong. Due to COVID-19 protocols, he was placed in solitary confinement, 56 days. Alone in a cell, allowed out only 3 times a week to shower. His lawyers called the conditions fundamentally unfair and argued it caused significant harm to his mental, physical, and emotional well-being. He petitioned a judge for early release to home confinement. The judge denied it. He eventually served his full sentence and was released to home confinement in April 2021. Now, you would think prison would be the worst chapter of this marriage. It was not even close. Because according to sources close to the family, this is where the marriage began its slow collapse. A source told outlets that Lori never fully forgave Mossimo for dragging her into the scandal. In her mind, she went to prison because of his decisions, and yet she tried. Think about that for a second. After going to federal prison because of her husband's scheme, after losing her career, after becoming a national joke, she still tried to make the marriage work. For years after they both served their sentences, they stayed together. They appeared publicly as a united front. They held hands and smiled for cameras, but behind closed doors, the trust was gone. And something Lori was about to find on Mossimo's phone would shatter whatever was left. Sometime before October 2025, Lori Loughlin found text messages on Mossimo Giannulli's phone. Sources described them as incriminating. The exact contents have never been publicly revealed, but whatever was in those messages was enough to end a 28-year marriage almost overnight. According to an unnamed friend who spoke to Page 6, Mossimo had used Lori for years, and his behavior got worse after his prison release. Another source said Giannulli had been leading a double life and had made Lori look like a total fool. On October 20, 2025, Lori was photographed having dinner with actor James Tupper, a friend and former co-star at the Bird Streets Club in West Hollywood. She reportedly appeared upset. The next day, her representative confirmed what everyone had been suspecting. Lori Loughlin and Mossimo Giannulli were separating after nearly 28 years of marriage. The statement read, "They are living apart and taking a break from their marriage. There are no legal proceedings at this time." But the real bombshell came 2 weeks later, because that is when John Stamos decided he was done being polite. On October 20th, 2025, John Stamos appeared on the Good Guys podcast, hosted by Josh Peck and Ben Soffer, and he held nothing back. "For 40 years, I've known her," Stamos said about Loughlin. "You can see through people after a few years, but this woman's a saint." Then he turned his attention to Mossimo. "I will never talk to him again. He's a terrible narcissist." Stamos said Lori put up with a lot over the years with this guy. He said he blamed Mossimo entirely for the college admissions scandal, claiming, "I'm not going to debate whether she had much to do with it or not. I know she didn't." He repeated the story about calling Lori when the charges first broke, and her response that Mossimo handles all that stuff. For Stamos, that was proof that his friend was blindsided by her own husband's ambition. He also made it clear that his feelings about Mossimo were not new. He said he had seen warning signs for years, that the man Lori married was not the man she thought he was. The interview made headlines everywhere. TMZ, Fox News, The Daily Beast, ABC News. Everyone picked it up. Uncle Jesse was going to war for Aunt Becky, and the public ate it up. because Stamos was saying out loud what a lot of people had been thinking privately for years. But Stamos also said something that got attention for a different reason. When asked whether he would leave his wife Caitlin McHugh for the now single Loughlin, Stamos laughed it off but did not exactly shut the door. He had, after all, called her the one that got away in his memoir just 2 years earlier. And while Stamos was defending Lori to millions of listeners, Mossimo was already being photographed with someone new. Within days of the separation announcement, Mossimo Giannulli was spotted with Hannah Harrison, a much younger stylist. They were seen shopping together at his G4 supply store in Beverly Hills, then at a nightclub in West Hollywood, then grabbing coffee. Harrison denied any romantic involvement, calling it bad timing. But the optics were devastating for Lori. Meanwhile, the financial fallout started taking shape, and this is where that prenuptial agreement comes back into the story. Remember, before they even got married, Mossimo insisted on a prenup that kept all of his money separate from hers. He was worth over $100 million when they married. Lori, by comparison, had her acting income, but nothing close to his fortune. If that prenup holds up in court, Lori could walk away from 28 years of marriage with almost nothing of his wealth. Her legal team is reportedly working to challenge the enforceability of the entire document, arguing that it was signed under different circumstances and should not apply after everything she went through because of him. They listed their Hidden Hills mansion, originally bought for $9.5 million. It eventually sold for $12.65 million, far less than the $16.5 million asking price. Their daughters are reportedly upset but not surprised. A source said Olivia Jade feels terrible about the split, and while she knows the divorce is not her fault, she cannot shake the guilt, knowing the college scheme that started all of this was done in her name. Olivia has since left the country entirely, relocating to Paris to start fresh. As for Mossimo, sources say he wants the divorce resolved quietly, which is interesting because nothing about his behavior since the separation has been quiet. He was out in public with a younger woman within days. He was photographed at nightclubs. He did not exactly look like a man mourning the end of a 3-decade relationship. Lori, meanwhile, is reportedly still furious. She wants nothing to do with him. Stamos called Lori the one that got away. After 40 years of friendship, he watched her marry a man he never trusted, lose everything because of that man's decisions, and then discover that man had been living a completely different life behind her back. The marriage that sent Lori Loughlin to prison is over, and the person who convinced her to fight those charges in the first place was already out with someone new before the ink on the separation was dry. If you want to see another Hollywood marriage that fell apart even worse than this one, that story is on screen right now. Click it.